Thanks for choosing us. Well, this afternoon we start with the diplomatic front because a diplomatic row has erupted between Ghana and South Africa over the killing of a Ghanaian national in Cape Town, with two governments sharply disagreeing over the circumstances surrounding his death. Ghana says 40-year-old Bashiru Isaac was fatally shot during an anti-immigration demonstration linked to xenophobic attacks in Kalashi on June 30th. But government has condemned the killing logged on a former protest with South African authorities, and they are also demanding full-scale investigation into it, and they are calling for greater protection for Ghanaians living in South Africa. Now, it also says its petition to the African Union over xenophobic attack remains active. South Africa, on the other hand, has rejected Ghana's account, describing it as factually incorrect. The government says the victim was killed a day earlier on June 29 at his workplace in Nyanga in what police suspect was an extortion-related attack. Authorities insist the murder was unrelated to the June 30 march, and they insist that no fatalities were recorded during the demonstration on that day. Well, South Africa has accused Ghana of spreading misinformation that fuels what it calls a false narrative of widespread xenophobic attack in their country. They're expressing condolences to the victims' families, and they're assuring that the police are investigating the murder. But Ghana says it will continue pursuing diplomatic and multilateral action against the country until those responsible are brought to justice and the safety of its citizens in South Africa is guaranteed. Well, let me bring you first a statement from Ghana. Just giving us an account of what happened yesterday here on Joy News. Yesterday, we brought you that news live when we got the information that a Ghanaian has been shot in South Africa. This is an official statement from the government of Ghana, just giving us details of what exactly happened. It's a long statement, but I'll run you through it briefly, just picking out the key points so that you can get a sense of what exactly the statement says. It starts with saying that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has received with profound shock and sadness reports of a fatal shooting of a Ghanaian national, and they state his name. Until yesterday, we didn't really have his name. In this statement, we have his name here, Bashiru Isaac. He is 40 years old. He stays in Cape Town, South Africa. And according to our statement released by the Foreign Affairs Ministry, it happened on the 30th of June 2006 during an anti-immigration demonstration linked to the ongoing xenophobic attacks in the country. Well, I'll take you down to the next few paragraphs as we wrap up with the statement, where Ghana is demanding from South Africa authorities a full, transparent and expedited investigation leading to the arrest and prosecution of the perpetrators. Now, they're also reiterating their call on South African authorities to ensure enhanced protection for all Ghanaian nationals in affected communities. Now, they go on to state that the ministry, through its High Commission in Pretoria, has formally registered Ghana's protest to the South African authorities and has reiterated our expectation that South Africa, in line with its international obligation, will guarantee the safety, dignity and rights of all foreign nationals on its territory, including Ghanaians. And so that's a statement that the Foreign Affairs Ministry put out earlier, detailing what they believe is the account of what happened. Now, the government of South Africa, they have also released a statement. They claim that this individual was not shot on the 30th of June 2006, but rather on the 29th. And that statement is coming up on your screen. I can see it on this side of my screen. It says the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, who also chairs the Interministerial Committee on Migration, on Thursday, July 2, 2026, expressed serious concern about the statement authored by the Ghanaian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So they start by stating their concern. They state what exactly we put out, which is that, and they quote that in their statement, on Monday, 30th June 2026, that individual was killed during an anti-immigration protest. but they go on to clarify it in the paragraph, and it's quite a lengthy statement, so I'll just take you through the key points. That way you get to understand why there are conflicting accounts as to what exactly happened. Ghana were firm with demanding investigation into this issue, and they go on to state in their statement, the South African statement, that in addition to being factually incorrect, alleging that our statement from the Foreign Affairs Ministry is incorrect, they say that is because of irregular migration protests that took place on Tuesday based on our account. This statement is not based on fact, they tell us. They say the Ghanaian national who was fatally wounded was attacked at his place of work. And you see, they don't say he was killed. Their statement says he was fatally wounded, was attacked at his place of work on Monday, 29 June 2026, in an incident that the police suspect as a criminal act, which is totally not linked to the alleged demonstration. That's what the South African government is telling us in the statement that they put out today. And they also state that the formal statement from the Western Cape Police indicates that the younger police registered a murder case for investigation following a shooting incident on Monday afternoon, which is 29th of June 2026, in Ms. Drive. And let's move on to the next place. The police members attended to the crime scene where they found the victim with gunshot wounds to his body. The victim was declared deceased on the scene by medical personnel. According to reports, unknown suspects entered the barber shop and demanded money from the victim before he was shot. The suspects fled the scene and are yet to be arrested. They tell us the motive of the attack is believed to be extortion related. So this is a statement put out by the South African government, and they are alleging that this individual was not shot on the 30th of June, as the government of Ghana says. And according to the statement that they're putting out, in fact, in their first few paragraphs, they failed to indicate that the individual is dead until the last few paragraphs, where they go ahead to say that they believe that it is extortion related and not as part of the xenophobic protest that was held in South Africa. Well, let's explore this further. We're trying to reach Ghana's High Commissioner to South Africa. Once we get contact to him, we'll be engaging him here to get clarity on what happened. But Ghana is clear in that statement the Foreign Affairs Ministry put out what exactly they're demanding from South Africa. They're demanding a full-scale investigation into the circumstances leading to the death of Mr. Isaac, and they are also demanding the safety of Ghanaian citizens in South Africa. Let's go on Zoom now and speak to international relations expert Dr. Ishmael Hlovo. Also on the line is Professor Vladimir Ntwi-Danso. He's a security analyst. We appreciate your time here on the Pulse. So I appreciate your time, gentlemen. This is quite worrying. I'd like to start with Professor Ntwi-Danso because we want to look at the security implications. There are concerns that Ghanaians in South Africa may not be safe. We're hearing conflicting accounts from the South African government and the Ghanaian government as to what exactly led to the killing of this Ghanaian in South Africa. But from a security and intelligence perspective, how common are conflicting official narratives, especially when it comes to cross-border incidents like this? You have some need for me to hear you clearly. Doc, you have to unmute for me to hear you clearly. Okay, we're still trying to get clear connection to Vladimir Ntwi-Danso. I'm told it's better now. Let's try one more time. Doc, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you now, loud and clear.
Good, good. Thank you for having me. What I was saying was that this is not uncommon in such diplomatic communication when such things happen. Someone has been killed, a foreign national. The country demands investigation and calls for proper things to be done. What Ghana did is the normal thing to do in international relations, international communication, diplomacy. We're calling for thorough investigation to bring perpetrators to book, etc., etc. And then we let the international community know also that we are hurt by what the other country has done. And we do this through our representatives. So the High Commission in South Africa reports to our ministry, the ministry protests. And so what we have done is correct. And under normal circumstances, you expect the host country to deny. It's very normal. Lying in diplomacy is a normal thing. Hamas people are killed in their thousands, and Israel say, oh, 3 people were killed. And they were not ordinary people. They are just miscreants whom we asked to stop, and they didn't stop. So these communications in that setup, the wrap of it is very normal, and I'm not surprised. What happens is that from here, Ghana's demand will be brought fully to a cycle. So South Africa will have to prove that this thing happened on the 29th and that it was not related to the xenophobic attacks. That's all they want to let the world know, that this incident is a robbery incident, is some altercation that happened and has nothing to do with the xenophobic attack, because the xenophobic attacks has a connotation which is not accepted by the international community. So the miscommunication or whatever communication they are trying to give us is such that they want to delink this incident from the xenophobic attacks that happened yesterday or 3 days ago. So certainly this is their aim. But we are demanding what the international system allows us to demand. Our national has been killed. Please investigate and give us the report. So I don't see anything serious about this. I mean, nothing is going to happen out of this. Diplomacy will solve it.
Diplomacy, you say, would solve it, but is that the case? Based on both statements, what red flags and inconsistencies really stand out for you in terms of the timelines provided by Ghana and South African authorities? Because the concern now is that Ghana has a different narrative. South Africa also feels it's different. In fact, South Africa in their statement quote a police report that state it happened on the 29th of June, while Ghana is firm that this happened on the 30th of June based on the information they received. And so we're wondering, based on these inconsistencies, how will that further fracture the already existing diplomatic ties between Ghana and South Africa?
As I said, diplomacy will solve it in the sense that diplomacy doesn't end with one feature. The point is this, that Ghana got the information from our mission there. We may be wrong, we may be right. South Africa is giving us what they think was the case. So we keep on joy-joying, we keep on demanding that, so show us the proof. And Ghana will come out again to say that, look, you are wrong. This is what happened. This is the independent kind of investigation, etc., etc. So, as I said, this will not force Ghana to send troops to go and fight South Africa or whatever it is, or sever a relationship. But it depends on how it is handled from one point to the other on the escalatory line. So Ghana's demand and their versions and whatnot will come to an end when we are able to reconcile the conflicting versions and then the demands that are put on the table. So let us not panic. Let us not think that this will end up in our severing relationship with South Africa or going to war with South Africa. No. From that security point, it will not happen that way.
There are calls for an independent investigator to handle this matter, especially because there are concerns that South Africa could take a biased approach. There are already concerns that earlier foreign nationals were assaulted by South African nationals because they felt that it was time for them to go. Look at the timeline, especially the time they decided to go on that walk demanding foreign nationals leave their country. And so looking at the backlash they're most likely to face, there are concerns that they could actually twist the facts. Should we consider, as Ghana, sending an independent investigator just to get the right facts of the incidents that happened?
That can only be done by a multilateralist organization like the AU or the SADC or the UN. Ghana cannot, or Ghana can demand that let us have a collaborative kind of investigation. So Ghanaian experts and South African experts can go on and then have the investigation. That's a long way out. But Ghana demanding that, please let my own Gambia allowed ECOWAS and AU to come in. Investigations revealed that yes, more than about 40 Ghanaians were killed in cold blood in the Gambia. Gambia was made to pay some compensation, and that is a real fact on our hand. So if we want to go that way, there is the possibility of raising this issue, and Ghana is doing that already at the multilateral level. AU is in the know that Ghana is demanding a lot from the way Ghanaians have been treated and the xenophobic attacks, etc., etc. So this one can be tagged on, and an investigation which is independent be conducted. But Ghana asking that our able investigators be allowed into the country, they may deny it. They wouldn't allow us.
But is using diplomatic channels the appropriate channel to deploy, especially because there are concerns that, if you recall earlier when Ghanaians decided to evacuate Ghanaians from South Africa, South African government felt that we overreacted. There are also concerns that even some Ghanaians who came into the country were interviewed by journalists. They told us how horrific their stay have been, how they've lost properties, and government of Ghana is still trying to get compensation from them. Now, looking at the situation at play here, what will be the way forward?
Diplomacy doesn't stop at any point. And it is the only weapon, only veritable weapon to bring about peace and conclusions that are acceptable. Go beyond diplomacy and you are veering into areas where you will receive nothing. And in diplomacy, you don't stop at a point and say, I'm tired. So let's give diplomacy a chance. Our diplomats know how to talk, what to write, what to say, and let's diplomacy is jaw-jawing. It is the most peaceful way of resolving issues. So beyond diplomacy, I can't see any other way of resolving the situation which is happening in Southern Africa. Even if they continue to kill people, if they continue to destroy whatever it is and that kind of thing, it is diplomacy that will solve the problem. Diplomacy at the bilateral level between us and South Africa, and diplomacy at the multilateral level between us, the two countries, and the multilateral organizations to which we belong. We have the SADC, which we can appeal to. We have the AU, which we have appealed to already. And we have the Commonwealth, which we can rely on. And finally, the UN. So diplomacy doesn't end there. And it doesn't end at the quarter where one believes that I'm tired and therefore I'm taking the gun. Of course, some even theorists believe that war is a continuation of diplomacy.
Stay with me, Prof. Let me bring in Ishmael Lovo as we explore this further. We're looking at the international implications of this concerns being raised by South Africa and Ghana. We're hearing from Prof tell us that diplomatic ties should not be severed. We should make sure that we deal with this following all diplomatic channels. But typically with situations like this, when they escalate from a single crime to multiple criminal incidents being recorded, how would that further, fracture the existing relationship we'd have with South Africa?
Thank you very much. I think that South Africa.
Oh, Doc, we can't seem to hear you. You would have to position rightly, and let's try one more time. Otherwise, we'll have to call you via phone calls. I'm just wondering if you can hear me now. You could just tell me. Now? It's much better now. Let's try one more time. I was asking you how diplomatic disputes like this typically escalate from a single crime incident to broader bilateral tensions, especially between both countries. Oh dear, Doc, I can't hear you. So let's try calling him on phone. It appears our lines are not favorable. Then we'll get him back on the line. But I have clear connection to Professor Vladimir Intri Danso. And so let me continue the conversation with him while we try to reconnect our lines and call Dr. Ishmael Hovo on phone. So I was finding out from you, Doc, really.
No, so once it escalates, hello?
Okay, I'm now hearing Ishmael Hovo. Is the connection clear now? I think we can go. You can tell me your thoughts about this. Doc? Oh dear.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can make your point.
Relation is still very much stable in spite of what is going on in South Africa. And I believe that when diplomacy reaches a point where it feels like it is tense, the two countries must take measures to de-escalate. And so what is happening is actually very common, particularly in moments of tension like this. So what should be done is for a direct talk between the South African authority and the Ghanaian authorities to try and find an amicable settlement to it. There's no way the two countries can disengage from each other. We need each other as Africans. We need each other as members of the same African fraternity. So basically, you have to begin to engage the South Africans who have a different version of the story that we are also having a different version. Of course, South Africa as a state has the duty to protect every individual in that state. South Africa has the duty to investigate and prosecute any criminal offense within its territory. Given what is going on, it is more likely that any national, foreign national that dies in South Africa may be linked to xenophobic attack. But that does not mean that other crimes are not being committed. If you watch the march on March, the protest, it has largely been peaceful, particularly given the fact that the South African state deployed a heavy military and police presence to make sure that such crimes do not happen. But having said that, it's still likely that people will go at the blind side of the security and commit some of these offenses. So whilst these disagreements signal some level of tension, they do not necessarily mean that diplomatic relations between South Africa and Ghana should be cut off. I understand the South African from the point that they need to cleanse their international image.
Oh dear, Doc, we seem to have lost you.
Need to maintain a level of posture that's hello?
Yeah, okay. Let's try getting Dr. Ishmael Hovo on phone. That way we can hear him clearly and we will not have interruptions in his submission. But then I still have Professor Vladimir Intri Danso with us, join the conversation. We appreciate his time. I just wanted to find out from you, elsewhere, they practice the cancel culture, where when there are concerns about anything relating to a brand or an individual, people would cease purchasing from that brand or individual. Should Ghana consider placing an embargo, really, on any product imported from South Africa to send a signal to the South African authorities that will mean business, Prof?
Recommend that tangent. I wouldn't recommend it at all. We haven't reached a point where we need to use other tools in the diplomatic box to force South Africa to listen to us. You see, we cannot do that because it is not a specific attack on Ghana per se. In fact, the whole of other African citizens are suffering this. And so it is something which we need to study very well and not do anything. I mean, if you have, what do you call it, a fly on your saw, you don't take a sledgehammer and try to kill the fly. You may hurt yourself. Yes, as I said, if we didn't have any diplomatic kind of relationship, if we haven't started talking, then you will see even our own nationals will take the law into their own hands and retaliate. But fair enough, we have suffered, our compatriots have suffered a lot. They have lost properties, they've lost several things, money and things like that, their lives. But then, at the same time, if we don't jaw, there will be reprisals here, the reprisals tomorrow. And if you don't take care, it will become permanent. The Middle East situation, the Hamas-Israel situation or Palestine-Israel situation, is what we're talking about. You see, unresolved historical issues create problems for the future. And what Middle East is seeing, the Palestinians are seeing, has links to ancient times, including 1947, when 750,000 people were made to march off their land to create the state of Israel. And after that, Israel has not seen the point to live with them peacefully. So there is some blockade in the chest of every Palestinian for land reclamation, kind of. And Israelis also claim we have a right of existence and they're killing each other. Do we want such a situation in Africa where when a South African sees a Ghanaian or a Nigerian, he kills him, and when a Ghanaian sees a South African, he kills him? What is happening, I say, is normal in human existence. Wherever there is an economic downturn, you see the government unable to turn the tides, and the people take the law into their own hands. We have done it here in Ghana before. We asked Nigerians to leave as if they were their problems. And they left. They left their cocoa farms. They left a lot of their properties. A lot of properties were left, and they bundled themselves away. A lot of them died on the way. I was a young boy then, but I remember very well the casualties we inflicted on. Even if we didn't inflict them the way South Africa is doing, what they suffered going back was visited on us in 1983. At the time that we were having a revolution, and at the time also that there was famine in Ghana, Ghanaians were made to leave Nigeria. More than 3-4 million Ghanaians suffered. A lot of them drowned, a lot of them died, a lot of them walked all the way from Nigeria to Ghana. And that reprisal, this Ghana must go thing, is something that reminds us of those days. We don't want such a situation, and it doesn't have to happen. People are talking. What South Africa is denying is normal. They don't want a link between this murder and the xenophobic attacks. It has a big international connotation for them, and that's why they are denying. As I said, the Gambian situation, which I narrated earlier, should serve as a torch for us. We can still pursue it the way we pursue the Gambian event, and we can pursue it until we get compensation for our departed or the victims. So Ghana is doing very well. I don't think Ghana government has been vituperative or more exuberant in the choice of words against South Africa. We have not been attacking at all. We are using the normal ways of diplomacy, and I think we are doing very well. Let us go on that tangent until we resolve this issue.
And I recall that the Foreign Affairs Minister, in an interview, actually said there are over 3,000 documented South Africans living in Ghana and that their safety is secured. But then we cannot turn a blind eye on what is happening in South Africa and the implications for foreign nationals there. Looking at the security implications, what should be our posture now moving forward?
Our posture should be to listen to our government and toe the line of diplomacy. Be peaceful. And I beg of the media not to twist this, because at times the media is a pillar that helps in escalating conflict. Escalating, I mean. So let us not demand of, in fact, what I saw on the Nigerian media is very wrong. And even parliamentarians calling for revenge in the Nigerian situation. And in 2015, they did. This time, their parliamentarians are asking also for MTN to be closed down, DSTV to be closed down, South African properties to be seized, etc., etc. Now, when you make such statements, when you make from the media such statements come out, miscreants, bad guys will take the law into their own hands and do similar things in Nigeria or in Ghana. Let us not toe that line. It is not a line known in diplomacy. What the Ghana government is doing is very much, commendable. We are towing the line of international diplomacy, international law, and we are law-abiding. That's very good. Let not the media incite anything against any South African.
Prof, stay with me. Let me bring in a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament, Ranking Member Samuel Abu Jinapo. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. I'm sure you've heard the conflicting accounts of what exactly transpired in South Africa with regards to the killing of a Ghanaian in South Africa. We've heard from the government of Ghana give us their account of what transpired. South African government have also given us an account of what transpired. The only challenge here now is that the accounts are conflicting, really. From the minority standpoint, what's your thoughts on what is playing out diplomatically?
Well, first of all, let me say good afternoon to your cherished listeners and viewers. Let me begin by saying that we, the minority, and I believe all of us Ghanaians, continue to send our solidarity, empathy, and prayers to our compatriots in South Africa. I think that is absolutely important. And also to reiterate that government and all stakeholders ought to work together to bring relief and support to all our compatriots in South Africa who will have any need for it. I think what is panning out as it relates to the bilateral relations between Ghana and South Africa is most disturbing and I should say quite unfortunate. Facts should be facts, and so we should not have different accounts as to what is happening in South Africa. If it is the case that we have sadly lost one of our compatriots in South Africa, that should be established. We cannot be in a situation where two sovereign governments have conflicting reports about the death of a Ghanaian citizen in South Africa. I mean, that is most unfortunate, and I think that is very disturbing. It shouldn't take a rocket scientist with the greatest of respect to establish this, much more government. Quite clearly, there is some breakdown of trust between our respective governments, and the bilateral relation between Ghana and South Africa obviously is at its lowest. I think, most respectfully, that the engagement should be elevated at the level of the presidency. And by that I mean the presidency of Ghana and the presidency of South Africa, to make the effort to normalize this relation. If you follow the back and forth, if I may put it that way, between our foreign minister and the foreign minister of South Africa, it's quite clear that there is some breakdown of cordiality and functionality. That doesn't seem to be a functional relationship between the two foreign ministers. I doubt if the South African foreign minister can pick a phone to call our foreign minister and vice versa. And so we should elevate this matter to the level of the presidency. And let me conclude on this point by indicating that we still have a good number of our compatriots in South Africa who have not been evacuated to Ghana. And it's a sizable number. And as I've said repeatedly, Ghana has a very cherished reputation of evacuation. We did it under President Rawlings during the Liberia-Sierra Leone war. We did it under President Akufo-Addo during COVID-19 and the Russian-Ukraine war with a lot of efficiency and excellence. I think Ghana has gotten to the point where we should have an evacuation policy and perhaps even legislate on it and legislate clearly as to, and probably even get an agency or get an authority or a department or a governmental organ that is solely responsible for evacuation that will sit maybe under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the Ministry of Interior or whatever. But it suffice to point out and do so forcefully that we've gotten to the point where we should have an evacuation architecture, policy, or legislation, or what have you. We should have a national debate on it, and we should take it up and build an evacuation policy for our country.
Is this something the minority? Is this something the minority is willing to push in Parliament? Would you bring probably a private member's bill?
Well, we've not gotten to that stage yet. Okay. We've made that point clear, and we made it on the floor of Parliament. I led it as a ranking for Foreign Affairs. I made that point on the floor of Parliament. I've said it severally. We've raised the issue at the committee level. We intend to write to the foreign minister and the relevant stakeholders to call for this evacuation policy, where we will have a dedicated outfit in our country that is responsible for evacuations when our citizens abroad are in distress and are in need, and perhaps even legislate on it. But the bilateral relation between Ghana and South Africa is at its lowest, and it should not be. It's most unfortunate. And I believe the respective presidencies of Ghana and South Africa ought to take this matter up at the very highest level.
And you say you intend to write to the Foreign Affairs Ministry. When exactly would that be? And what would be the key demands you're making in your petition?
Well, it's still in the works. Let me keep it to myself for now. But as soon as practicable, it will be done. And even as I speak to you, I'm sure that those who matter will necessarily pick the relevant signals from this conversation and some of the advocacy we have done on the floor of Parliament. Look, let me tell you, what is going on in South Africa and what is happening to our citizens, it's all of us our shared responsibility. This is something that should call for the attention of all of us Ghanaians across the political divide. And this is the time we should rise above partisanship and come together to find solutions to some of these problems we are dealing with on the international front. It's most unfortunate, and we think that we should do whatever we can, particularly government in the lead, to bring about some normalcy in this situation.
Will the minority back an independent investigator, probably led by the AU or ECOWAS, to look into what exactly transpired that led to the killing of this Ghanaian?
No, we back that. We've said it many times that we support the government's decision to petition the African Union to take up this matter, and that escalation is one that we support fully. And I made that statement on the floor of Parliament, and the minister is very much aware, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is very much aware that we support that intervention that the government of Ghana has made. And because these xenophobic attacks in South Africa is becoming one too many. We've had too many of that. I recall when I was Deputy Chief of Staff or so, President Ramaphosa sent a whole delegation to come and apologize to President Akufo-Addo and the Ghanaian people for the xenophobic attacks which occurred at that time. And it's become recurrent, and we believe that there are some systemic and endemic conditions in South Africa which the South African authorities ought to exercise, which is not being done. And therefore, the escalation of the matter to the level of African Union is one that we fully support. But the other aspects of this matter, which I've just been raising with you, which also needs attention, and we are very much prepared to support government and other stakeholders to be able to bring normalcy in this particular situation.
And what are your thoughts, really, about the posture of the South African government? You referenced previous times where they had to send a delegation to Ghana to apologize to Ghana. We do not know if that has been done already. But what's your thoughts as a minority about the posture of the South African government following concerns about xenophobic attacks in the country?
Well, first of all, I'm not too sure these attacks and the rhetoric and whatever is happening in South Africa is doing anything good to the image of South Africa. It's damaging the country's reputation in my view, if they don't take care in a very irreparable manner. You saw what happened when South Africa was playing Mexico, and you saw how all of Africa rose up against South Africa. And you've seen how people's attitudes are towards South African brands and anything South Africa. It's most unfortunate that we've had to get to this level. So it's not rubbing off well on them at all. Secondly, I personally believe that there are systemic and endemic conditions in South Africa which seems to promote this kind of conduct. And we are even told that the political discourse in South Africa, when it's time for election, promotes some of this language where politicians seem to commit to certain segments or constituents of the country that if they are elected, they will see to citizens being expelled from their country. Yet, I will be the first to admit, like any country, and Ghana inclusive, foreigners have to respect the laws of a particular country. So we expect all citizens and foreigners in our country to respect the domestic laws of Ghana, just as we expect our citizens to be law-abiding when they travel to other parts of the world, South Africa included. But that can never be a justification for mob attacks, for vandalism, for killings and all of it. It cannot be. When people flout the law, they have to be taken through the due process of the domestic laws of that country. Nobody has the right to take the law into their hands and kill people as is being reported in this particular case. So I think the South African government they have to rise up to the occasion, and there's a lot more they have to do, which I believe they are not doing, which is why I said we support the government petition to African Union for the African Union to take up this matter.
Thank you so much, Samuel Abujinapo is a ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Let me bring in Bra Moro. He is a leader for an association. They call themselves the Concerned Ghanaians in South Africa Association. We appreciate your time here on the Pulse. Paint a picture for me. How is life like in South Africa as we speak?
Yeah, hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. Firstly, the gentleman who passed away, for a little clarification, he passed away on Monday, which is the 29th of June, 2026, which had nothing to do with the March nationwide protest.
Is this information that you can independently verify?
I'm telling you a point from as the chairperson for Concerned Ghanaians in South Africa.
So
Quote me where anyway.
Okay.
Whoever disagrees with me, I'm willing to avail myself to any court of law for prosecution. Quote me anyway. The gentleman was shot on 29th of June 2026, which had nothing to do with the March protest.
Okay.
If we misconstrue the story, it becomes difficult for we Ghanaians in SA to reside peacefully here, because we are those, on record, we have over 18,000 Ghanaians in South Africa, and the government of Ghana cannot repatriate all of us. The betterment of the safety of Ghanaians in South Africa is paramount to each and every one of us, including those of you back home.
Okay.
So if we do not say things as it is, and we rather dilute it, you make it more difficult for we Ghanaians in SA. Currently, the police service are legally using the laws in targeting Ghanaians. If I'm saying legally using the laws, if they come across you, if a police officer or an immigration officer comes across you, they ask you for your documents. The moment you show it to them and they realize you are illegal in the country, they arrest you on the spot without even listening to any story. But from last year to the previous decades, even if a police officer or immigration officer sees a Ghanaian in South Africa, ask you, where is your document? You don't have it on you. You just say you are a Ghanaian. They say, oh, no problem. Ghanaians, you guys are safe. We don't have any problem with you. We've never had, like myself personally, I've been here for close to 2 decades. Police officers have never asked me for my document in this country.
Okay, Bra Moro, you're giving us a lot of information, and we want our audience to understand what you're telling us. And so I'd like you to go with me. First of all, I want to understand why a Ghanaian would choose to stay in a country that government has issued a travel advisory against illegally, knowing fully well that you lack documentation. Why is that the case? Why are Ghanaians still choosing to stay in South Africa?
Thank you. Some of us has been in this country over 2 decades, so we cannot just easily pack up and leave, regardless of the situation. 2, this is not the first time that we are witnessing this incident. It almost happened almost every year or twice. At least we are grateful to God that for the past 3 years, we didn't experience it. For the past 3 years, this 2026 is when now we are seeing it again. So we cannot. There are some of us, we've built families here. We've built almost everything. Our entire life is here. So we cannot just, because government has issued a travel directive, just pack up and go. We have solution to resolve this issue.
What is your solution?
Which the government of Ghana can engage with we Ghanaians in SA. The solution is we stopping the media briefings, the press conferences, the backlash, It's like there is a tug of war between the South African authorities and the Ghanaian authorities, which is the Foreign Affairs Minister and the DECO. DECO is the South Africa Foreign Affairs Minister. There are certain things that is supposed to be resolved on the boardroom, but not in public. Another example, the Ghana government intending to take South Africa to the AU. We, Ghanaians in South Africa, we condemn that, and we will appreciate if the government of Ghana can retract. South Africa is part of Africa. We all need each other to intermingle among ourselves. If one party or one country is even doing something which is wrong, at least let's sit down as brothers and sisters and resolve that issue. Let's profile, share ideas, how we can resolve this issue. But if we don't do that, and we are rather sitting way back in Ghana, and we are sharing words, like different messages coming from Ghana, it's making it difficult for Ghanaians in South Africa to stay here.
Point is well noted.
Again,
I want to take you back to your initial account. You say that the gentleman in question was killed on the 29th of June. What's the source of your information? Thank you. Firstly, this is not the first time that we've lost a Ghanaian through this. South Africa has a slum areas, which is equivalent to Zongos in Ghana. If you can paint a picture of Zongo communities in Ghana, where things are tough, rough, difficult. Trust me, there is no single foreigner in Ghana who will reside in Zongo because they presume there to be a hotspot crime zone. But unfortunately for us, when we come to South Africa, due to the cost of living, which is rent, we cannot stay in the CBD or in the gated communities. We rather go, majority of us rather go to those Zongos community, which are prone source of crimes. So there's these vigilante groups who have, they've even been operating before the formation of March and March. They're vigilante groups. They come to you at your workplace and they demand for money that they protect you and your business. So give them money, pay them. They call it protection fee. It is popular or famous in the Western Cape, which is Cape Town, in the townships or Zongos in Cape Town, Ailicha, Guguletu, Nyanga, Philippi, etc. If you fail to give them the money, they come as a group. They've got guns on them. Then they can just open the fire on you. Last year, we lost another Ghanaian. 2 years ago, we lost another Ghanaian in the very same area that I'm referring to. So this last week, Monday, they went there, those guys went there and they asked our brother, the deceased, for money. He wasn't having. So they were just talking, and then one of them opened fire on him, which was on Monday. They ran away. He fixed shoes, which is Ghana, we call it shoemaker. That is his profession. So immediately they do that, they run away. Like I said, it's not the first time that we've seen or such has occurred. December last year, another Ghanaian was shot. He died also on the spot from the same place. They normally call them protection fee, which is not sanctioned by the state. They are not representing the security class. It's just vigilante group who have gathered and doing that. We condemn that. And they have no coordination with March and March or any other organized anti-migrant organization. And this vigilante group, based on what you are telling us, so far with all the killings you are narrating, one that happened in December last year, as well as this, which you are linking it to the vigilante activities, has there been any arrest so far of these individuals by state authorities, since you say the state authorities did not sanction it?
Thank you. In the past, this is one problem that I blame we Ghanaians in South Africa. Whenever a Ghanaian is being shot or murdered, we don't report it. We don't even go to the place and bury the person. And then as soon as you bury the person, it's like we've concealed the evidence. You understand? So there is no forensic investigation, etc. But the current High Commissioner that we have, His Excellency Mr. Benjamin Kwashi, has constantly educated us that whenever a Ghanaian passed away, as long as it's a murder case, we should firstly report it to the High Commission. The High Commission now steps in to make sure they open a case at the SAPS, which is the South Africa Police Service, and then investigation goes in. So all the previous ones, we don't have any single case that we've opened. But with the current one, trust me, the Ghana High Commissioner has stepped in, that there is a police investigation ongoing.
Okay.
I'm convinced that there will be culprits who will be arrested very soon.
So,
And
Mr. Morrow, stay with me. Don't go there. Stay with me. I want to ask you a question on that. So, are you telling me that you, the concerned Ghanaians in South Africa, you reported this case to the South African ambassador, which is the Ghanaian ambassador to South Africa, which is Mr. Bench? You reported it to him?
Ghana High Commissioner.
Okay, you reported to Ghana High Commissioner.
Yes.
And
yes.
So how did we get the facts wrong if you reported it to him?
Okay.
Did you misinform him?
That, I cannot answer where the media got that misinformation from.
It wasn't the media that put out the misinformation. It was an official statement from the Foreign Affairs Ministry, and I'm sure the Foreign Affairs Minister got information from our High Commissioner to South Africa. And so if you reported the case, I'm wondering what did you tell him?
I can dispute that the Foreign Affairs Ministry never got that information from the Ghana High Commission.
Okay.
I can dispute that the Foreign Affairs Ministry never got that message from the Ghana's High Commissioner in South Africa. Because if the Foreign Affairs Ministry got that information from the Ghana's High Commissioner, surely the right information would have been laid before the Foreign Affairs Ministry. Because I personally engaged with the High Commissioner, I gave the High Commissioner the exact happenings, to the extent that I had a conference call between myself, the Ghana's High Commissioner, and the father of the deceased. They spoke. You understand? I did that connection by engaging the father of the deceased and the Ghana's High Commissioner via a conference call. So maybe the Foreign Affairs Ministry should come on board and tell us where they are getting those information from. Maybe they are resorting to an unknown source, someone who we cannot identify in South Africa, who is giving that information to the Foreign Affairs Ministry. So we will be happy if the person who released the information from the Foreign Affairs Ministry can come out and tell us where they got that information from. You can talk to the High Commissioner. The High Commissioner is going to narrate what I just said to you. And if we are to even take a little time and wait for the postmortem and the police SAPS report to come out, you're going to see that the incident happened on Monday. And then it is that vigilante group which had nothing to do with March and March. The protest was on Tuesday. Even on Sunday, I personally did an audio circulated on all our WhatsApp platforms advising Ghanaians to abstain from work from Monday throughout the whole week. I did that audio to advise them. We don't know how the issue, the current situation, what is expected. But with the high-level presence of security and due to our documentation issues, we should not risk creating our businesses from Monday on the 29th of June till ending of this first week of July. I myself took it upon myself. And surprisingly, the High Commissioner also released a video advising Ghanaians to abstain from work, stay home. But unfortunately, when issues of this nature comes out, not all of Ghanaians pay heed that call. Otherwise, the tragic death of our brother could probably have been prevented.
You've been engaging his family members. Did they tell you why exactly he went to work on that day, despite advice from the High Commissioner to South Africa?
No, there's been no proper this thing. There's nothing proper or nothing that makes sense about that. some of us, it's difficult to admit, we are stubborn. If I'm saying that, I'm referring to we Ghanaians. We know very well we have documentation issues. You tell us, there are some Ghanaians even here whose passport has expired 5 years, 10 years back, and they are still in South Africa. You tell them, go to the High Commission, go renew it, they won't go. But the very day that the Department of Home Affairs, which is the immigration and the police, are embarking on raid, that is when now these Ghanaians will be calling you, oh, please, I want to renew the passport. But as soon as there is no raid, they don't bother. They rather focus in working, which I will humbly appeal to the Foreign Affairs Ministry to rather use this opportunity to educate Ghanaians. I was very happy when the Foreign Affairs Minister on record told us that we have close to about 3,921 legally South Africans residing in Ghana. Unfortunately, can we say the same thing about Ghanaians legally residing in South Africa? We can't. You understand?
So as leader of Ghanaians in South Africa, what are you doing to ensure that at least the members of your group are documented? You have the option to also come back home. So why stay in the country when you clearly do not have documentation?
You know, trust me, even in Ghana, we have Ghanaians who don't even have Ghana card to date. There are Ghanaians in Ghana who don't have Ghana card. You understand? So, hence, it all falls back to us, our attitude, our behavior. It's not even just about ignorance. You know very well you need document to be in someone's country, but we don't care. That is it. And also, there are some Ghanaians who goes to Ghana and bring in other Ghanaians to come and work for them in their various hair salons. When they come in, they confiscate their passport. They don't even assist them to apply for proper documents. They have to work and repay all the amount they spend in sending those Ghanaians to South Africa. So all those also accumulate to the backlog of Ghanaians in South Africa who are having crises or issues with documentation. And also, to be truthful to you, South Africa is currently one of the countries that is extremely difficult to get documentation, especially if you arrived, let's say, 2020 during COVID-19 till now. It's not, there are many permits or visas they don't issue. Example, they've introduced something called scarce skills or critical skills. Those are sectors or industry that South Africans don't have that skills. So if you're a Ghanaian and you possess those skills and you arrive in the country, they will quickly give you documents to reside. But if you're operating hair salon, fixing shoes, mechanics, panel beating, those shop jobs, they don't consider it as a scarce skills. And unfortunately, that is what majority of us we are engaging in this country. So there are some also, we believe, or including myself, we believe we've been here for quite a long time. At least we are able to send something home. But now if we are to pack up and go home, we don't have anything to do back home. So we would rather still remain illegal or undocumented in the country.
So, Mr. Moro, as you speak, you do not have documentation? Are you saying
use my own platform.
Do you have documentation to stay in South Africa?
No. I do. I'm a permanent residence holder of South Africa.
Okay.
I'm a permanent residence.
I see.
I'm a permanent residence. Just that I cannot vote. But anything that a South African can do, I can do, apart from voting.
And are you safe?
I cannot vote.
Are you safe in South Africa?
Even the president, I would say, is not safe. You understand? Because you don't know what's going to happen to you the next day. But just that, yes, it's not everything. The fact that your area, your suburb is safe doesn't mean you can walk like you can be careless. Everything is unpredictable. I might even go to a place that probably accidentally I might get myself in trouble, get shot, and etc. So the primary advice is, if Ghanaians travel to especially South Africa, we should not reside in the slum areas, which is the Zongo. We shouldn't reside there. on record, even Ghanaians who are residing in the CBDs are more safer there than those in the slum areas or the Zongo communities. But unfortunately, rent is extremely expensive in the CBD due to the safety, security, private security patrolling, CCTV cameras, razor wires, etc. And the fencing, even the police also are constantly patrolling the whole suburbs. So rent is quite expensive. But staying in the rural areas, which is the Zongos, etc., you can even stay there for a whole year. You don't even see police patrolling. That is why vigilantes are able to form those associations and then target foreigners in those areas. Even Somalians, they are even worse, because Somalians and then Bangladesh are mostly operating pack shops or provision shops, as you call it in Ghana. So they always go to them and demand for money. If you don't give it to them, they kill them. Even their own South Africans, they do it to them. Those vigilantes, which is the protection fee, they can go to their very own people, ask them for money. Those who are operating businesses, you don't give it to them, they kill you as well. You understand? So I would say it's not a new thing, it's common.
Okay.
But the earlier we find solution with the ongoing impasse, the better. There is no need to expel South Africa High Commissioner in Ghana or Ghana's High Commissioner in South Africa. There is, what I would probably advise the government of Ghana does is, the former president of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has a good relationship with Cyril Ramaphosa, the current president of South Africa. At least the Ghana government can assign him as a special envoy to mediate between Ghana and South Africa. Better still, the greatest king, Nana Otumfuo, can also step in, being assigned by the government of Ghana to mediate also. This past March, 6th March, for the first time in our history, we celebrated Ghana's Independence Day in South Africa, which had never happened before.
Mr. Moro, we have to go now.
Many MPs, etc., they were all here.
Okay. So please wrap up for me. We have to go now.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Have you made your points?
Okay, so in summary, I will be very happy if President Mahama, I will be very happy if President Mahama can step in. And I'm very happy with the conduct of President Mahama. Publicly, he has not said anything on the current issue, whereby it might be negative. His silence is very good. But unfortunately, our ministers, MPs, etc., they should all remain silent. And rather, the president assign someone as a special envoy to meet Cyril Ramaphosa for them to trash out those issues, because now we Ghanaians are becoming a target legally by South Africans who are checking on our documentation. The problem that South Africans have with foreigners are Nigerians and Zimbabweans. We Ghanaians are not part of it. We've never been part of it. Hence, they have what they call bagana. That is the love and support they have for Ghanaians. But unfortunately, for the past month to date, due to how the media back home are portraying the issue and the repatriation of Ghanaians, when those Ghanaians arrive in Ghana, the lies also is also diluting the issue.
Okay.
The words that they are saying against South Africa, all those are like just baseless, but which we don't need. The fact that you've relocated from South Africa to Ghana does not mean that there is no single Ghanaian remaining in South Africa. For the sake of time, I will probably end here, and anytime you call on me, I will join the game.
Okay. We'll still have this conversation in subsequent bulletins where we would ask you for specific numbers, the numbers of Ghanaians who are members of your association who are undocumented, and we'll get all those details in subsequent bulletins. But let me wrap up with Vladimir Entredanzo. He's been listening to the account given by a Ghanaian in South Africa. Your thoughts as we wrap up the conversation? Prof, you have to unmute for me to hear it clearly. Do I have clear connection to Prof? Okay, unfortunately, I do not have clear connection to Prof. It would have been great to get his final thoughts on that. But that's how we wrap up that conversation. You can share your thoughts with us on all our social media handles. We'll join you on TV on this raging debate about what is transpiring in South Africa. We're hearing conflicting accounts of what exactly led to the death of a Ghanaian. We know that the government of Ghana, they have called for a full-scale investigation into circumstances leading to his death. They put out a statement earlier. We also heard from the South African government, also alleging that the time of death for the gentleman in question is different from what is reported in the Foreign Affairs Ministry statement. So we're monitoring the situation closely and we'll bring you updates as soon as we have that. Well, away from that, calls are intensifying for deeper collaboration between security agencies as concerns grow over growing threats of terrorism in countries in the sub-region. Experts have in the last few days warned of a potential gradual spillage of terrorism to countries like Ghana, calling for a more coordinated preparedness against the menace. Well, we've been hearing from key stakeholders. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes have in a response assembled top security capos to adopt a standard operation procedure against terrorism. Chairperson for the Security and Intelligence Committee, Dr. Zinato Ajiman-Rawlings, says that preparedness cannot be complete without a more united security agency and effective justice delivery system in the country.
In a scenario where there's been some terrorist attack or some violent extremism, when cases are brought before the court, because there's been proper chain of custody, there's been proper integrity of the evidence protection, and of course the scene of the crime was actually taken care of properly. As a result of that, the hope is that we will have a better prosecution rate and that the judges will not deem evidence inadmissible because of the way evidence was collected. If we make reference to our national security strategy, the underlying concept is to have an all of society and all of government approach, and that's what we are trying to do. The greater the harmonization there is between the various agencies, the services involved, the better the chance of a better outcome, because operating in silos means that there might be things that one agency might be missing out on, and that's why we're having such a very important collaboration with the different security services, the relevant agencies. We have the judiciary here present, as well as the Attorney General and the Justice Department as well. And all of that, including our security and intelligence agencies, defense, to ensure that we all are speaking to the same issues, that we all understand the framework with which we're working. And it makes it easier, even between the different agencies, for there to be greater collaboration so that justice is actually not only done but also seen to have been done.
Well, the United Nations Office on Drug and Crimes has also committed to more support for Ghana's effort to remain resilient against terrorism.
Supporting peace, security and effective institutions and rule of law remains central to our partnership with Ghana under the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework, which was signed in 2023 and will end in 2027. The cooperation framework has one key priority area, that's what we call Pillar 3, ensuring durable peace and security in Ghana and the sub-region. And this project is part of the UN Family's approach to supporting the government of Ghana in achieving durable peace and security in the sub-region. Today's meeting, therefore, is part of the wider project strengthening criminal justice response to terrorism in West Africa. And the aim is to enhance capacity of national and regional actors to investigate, prosecute, and adjudicate terrorism cases, particularly in high-risk border areas and in relation to threats such as the threats we are experiencing in the sub-region.
Away from security, let's talk about the floods. 4 days after the devastating floods hit part of the country, the emergency is far from over. In several affected communities, families are still struggling to find food, clean water and safe shelter, while health experts warn of possible disease outbreaks in areas where we recorded floods. Well, this afternoon, the focus shifts from relief efforts to recovery and accountability. Who has received support? That's a big question we're asking this afternoon. Who has been left behind? We know that NADMO is working on that, but then they are struggling with resources. And when really will the government's 300 million Ghana cedis that were told by the presidency for flood relief and mitigation be actually made available and disbursed to the people? Well, the Director General of the National Disaster Management Organization, Joseph Bakari Kunyong, says the distribution of relief items to some affected persons has already begun. Listen.
Here we are looking at over 3,000 victims, and the National Disaster Management Organization always make sure that we are donating to the people who really need the assistance. That is those who were actually affected. As you can see, most people are gathered here, but not all of them were victims. So we go by our list. The donation this morning is a combination of what the President has directed us to do, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, as well as our compatriots from Qatar, the Qatar charity. They are here with some items to support the people of Ayawasu Central. So this morning we are here to give relief to over 3,000 victims of the flooding that happened in Accra, and then basically to ensure that some relief is brought to them as directed by His Excellency the President.
However, is that enough? Well, the Director of Man-Made Disasters at NADMO, Maxwell Nibe, says despite government's ongoing interventions, the scale of the devastation remains overwhelming. He's appealing to the public and corporate organizations to support with relief items.
This year, we've been privileged with most of the disasters that happen across the country. My Director General have been able to mobilize a lot of resources to reach out to the people down there. But this, of course, is a national issue, and it's so devastating that we alone cannot handle it. And so we need people like you to be able to come on board so that we can all coordinate this particular event here.
How much do you estimate that this disaster in Accra will require, in order for NADMO to be of help to those who need it?
I cannot put a figure to it, but I know it is daunting. It's daunting. We're looking at, first, my priority here is about a human being. Those that are affected now, those that are trying to put lives together. You go around doing the assessment and you are down, your spirit is down if you're a human being.
Well, let's explore this further. We know that as flood waters continue to recede in parts of the country, it is leaving behind a trail of filth. Let's engage the National President of the Ghana Association of Public Health and Technical Officers, Joseph Owusu Asante, to analyze the potential public health implications of the floods. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. It's been 4 days since we recorded that massive downpour, especially in the Greater Accra region. And now the biggest concern we're facing is the aftermath, the filth left behind as flood waters begin to recede. How do you propose we can go moving forward, especially for affected communities, to ensure that diseases are not reported in those areas?
Thank you. My sympathy to all affected families and people associated with this disaster. This presents us with a very precarious situation that can upsurge outbreaks. In fact, we have huge contamination to deal with if there was any pathogen as disease-causing organism that was hiding far away from human circles, this flood has mixed everything up, and it shouldn't be surprising that you can have the pathogen so close to you. And so we have that situation to deal with. Again, the flood waters has also brought ambient temperature so low. So areas where it got flooded, you could feel that the temperature is down. People will easily feel cold. And when your body gets below a certain temperature, it becomes conducive for other conditions, disease conditions to thrive. And so what we find ourselves in is very fertile for disease outbreaks. We have a group of them, we call some of them waterborne diseases. So you mentioned that, and you have cholera, you have cholera, you have typhoid fever, you have hepatitis A and E. Then you have water-based diseases, and water-based disease, you talk about schistosomiasis as one, or what we popularly call bilharzia. Then you have water-related diseases like malaria, dengue fever, yellow fever, skin, and even helminths or worms infestation. So all these become what possibly can affect all of us. And so it is a situation that we have to manage carefully, and those of us who are professionals in public health, particularly managing disease outbreaks and controls, we have to be up working. I think to the public, we would want to recommend that what we did so well in COVID times should be revisited. Can we have the hand washing as a culture all around us now, particularly public offices and spaces? At our homes, we need to do hand washing very well, washing your hands with soap and running water. And then also the foods that we eat, because of the level of contamination, our food and our water must also be taken care of critically. So we need to eat, or if you like, we need to eat warm foods, such that we are sure if there's any pathogen around, we have tried using the heat to kill it. And then also our bodies, the human being, we need to keep it warm. So particularly children, we need to keep them warm, and we have to prevent them from going to cold places, and we have to make sure that there is that heat around us. I think the other thing we also have to be concerned about is reporting our ill health. In public health, numbers means a lot. If we have 5 people from the same locality reporting or presenting the same conditions, it gives us a kind of statistical understanding to make predictions, and it helps us to quicken out our pace trying to arrest any situation that can cause a surge in numbers. So I entreat all members of the public that use the health facility near you, despite the fact that it may not be what will solve all the health problems you have. Even a cheap compound would serve as a purpose. If 3-5 people are reporting the same condition at a particular cheap compound, though we may refer you, but the numbers alone begin to speak to us in public health, and it gives us a reason to respond, as we entreat everybody to use the health facility nearby. I think all the people within my association, that is disease control officers, nutrition officers, particularly in public health, health information and health promotion people, we have to be out now. We have to be very close to the communities and detect conditions that can easily result in outbreak. Pick our investigation signals, pick samples, and then quickly send them up for authorities to be able to help us detect what we have to detect and arrest what we have to arrest. I think we would want to entreat government that in doing all this, we also have to ensure that there's a bit of policy behind what is going on. So the COVID dividend, I call it, one of them is the hand washing. And the others, like the use of nose masks, must be introduced and made as one of the major community barriers to make sure that pathogens that are mixed up do not get a chance to thrive and cause outbreaks within these times.
We saw in some of our visuals, especially areas we visited, that some affected residents are using the flood waters to wash and clean their homes. Is that advisable?
Not at all. Not at all. And I think providing water is one of the basics. In fact, even your hands that does not appear dirty carries pathogens or disease-causing organisms. How much more a fluid as water that is obviously looking turbid, as seriously contaminated, will carry so much to harm your life. And so using the flood waters to clean whatever you want to clean is dangerous. I think that I do not know what makes them want to clean with it, but we must put a high premium on our lives and do preventive more than trying to want to do something to get out of situation so immediately. Perhaps it is the remains of the flood waters that we are pushing away. I think that one, there's no alternative about it. We just have to go high with our protective gears. And so we must get people, PPEs, to be doing this work. Otherwise, if you have to do that at home, then you must observe a high level of hygiene practice. But you want to use the contaminated water for your cleaning, you're just trying to, make the worst happen to you after you have survived the disaster. That is not advisable.
And then we also heard from some traders. We visited some markets, and the concern from the traders is that they've invested too much in foodstuffs, and so they are unwilling to throw them away. Some of them have washed them and are trying to resell them to unsuspecting buyers. What would you advise they do?
Yeah, so to invest in food or any trade and see it go waste is a pain. But to the extent that others were swept away by the flood, we saw people who were actually caught up in a very bad circumstance that have lost their lives. How much premium will you place on food that you bought, you did not eat it, you are alive, and you now want to eat it and get problem? If it is even about the debts, you must understand that you should be alive. All of us have to be alive. Then we would find a way to deal with the aftermath. And so traders would easily want to feel that whatever that was left over is still good to trade. But socially, if we know the person whose action caused this to all of us, I think we'll not be happy about that person. And so let us not become overly interested in profits and regaining capital in this instance. And that you never know who is going to even eat what you are selling. The accounts will remember songs like people who say that if you do good, you do for yourself. If you do bad, you do for yourself. That can happen to you. And so it is not advisable. I think that the highest price anybody will pay is to want to profit from your own life. And that is socially not good. And so all of us talking about the flood should discourage that practice, particularly things that cannot go through heat. If we can cook it, we may be safe. Otherwise, it is dangerous to all of us. Public health means that we are all connected. What we collectively do determines the health of all of us, and that must be a concern. So I will also want to appeal to general society. You may be living far away from Accra, and I must say that the flood is topical in Accra, but there are other communities around the country that has also suffered flood within this period, and the same counsel or advice goes to all of us. I would want to appeal that those of us who are not directly affected, please let's extend some support. It could be financial, it could be any way. If people are receiving this support, it makes it easy for them to also let go some of these losses, because when it happens, we would all be affected. Remember, it takes less than 24 hours for somebody to move from even Accra to perhaps Bolga. So if a problem happens at Accra, don't be surprised that we will feel it far away from Accra. Let it be the concern of all of us.
And then finally, we know that thousands are now living in temporary structures, schools and even church buildings, because unfortunately their homes have been submerged. How would they ensure that there is no spread of any disease outbreak, especially in those camps where the numbers are huge and they are concentrated?
Thank you. I think it begins with technocracy. And so those responsible for putting these places up must know that in concentrating people, there is also the undesired effects that we must curtail very well. And so all those technical people responsible, they must ensure that there's a public health officer within the arrangement. And that person will see to it that from the food to the groupings, as it were, crowdings, as people even presenting certain health conditions will be given attention. And in our practice, we call that surveillance. There must be strict surveillance at all these places. And so in the districts where this has happened, my colleagues in those districts are also stepping up their surveillance to make sure that such places does not become a breeding ground for the problems that we want to avoid. And so we just have to make sure that the situation is managed. In fact, we are not in normal times, so we cannot expect things to be very ideal. But in the circumstance as it is, if we don't handle the rough edges well, that will even give us the worst at the end of the day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Joseph Owusu-Asante, for your time here on The Pulse. Well, still on this, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection is urging all metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives to prioritize support for the most vulnerable people affected by the recent floods. According to the sector minister, Dr. Agnes Namamulate, children, older persons and persons with disabilities require urgent attention as government intensifies efforts to assist victims and restore normalcy.
We also keep an eye out for the most vulnerable. Even in evacuation, you are looking at evacuating the most vulnerable before the others are taken care of. And so basically, we are supporting, it's part of social protection efforts. And so we applaud and appreciate the President for this step in the right direction, because the lives of the individuals are valuable to us. And we are going to ensure that especially the most vulnerable don't become worse off because of what has happened to them.
So, from our reports that we did from Monday, even yesterday we spoke to some school children. The guy says everything is gone, his books, his school bag, his school uniforms. Do you have any plans for these children?
So, like you clearly heard, there's a mitigation plan, and then also there's the relief aspect. And so basically, we acknowledge that in times like this, it is not so much about properties. In fact, the huge properties that you can even think of, more valuable than some books and things, you look at the lives. So going for saving lives than any other thing. All other things like book, stationery supplies and things are the ones that we can easily come together and, but life we cannot give life. So we focused on saving lives, and then all other things we will support families to ensure that they are not worse off. And so basically they shouldn't worry about those things. All of us, one way or the other, will have to put in extra effort to ensure that we support children, especially those that have lost all their academic records, to let them know that they are going to be supported to be on their feet again, because that is their worry, especially those that are preparing for one exams or the other. But they should be rest assured that once there is life, there is hope. And so we are not going to leave them alone. The state, that is the government of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, will work with everybody, young and old, persons with disability. We're going to work with everybody to ensure that you are supported, you are given the needed support to be able to overcome and face the challenges that are ahead of us.
Well, you're still watching The Pulse. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this quick tip. Welcome back. Well, the Greater Accra Regional Minister has also cautioned all metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives to ensure relief items meant for victims of the recent floods are distributed fairly and reach every affected person. The minister says no one should be denied assistance or sidelined during the distribution process, stressing that accountability and transparency must guide the relief exercise. Ramat Bashiru has more in the following report.
And so that they'll go to their various districts and share it among the affected people, because we don't want a situation where we hear that those who are not affected were rather the beneficiaries. And so we'll plead with the MCs and the MPs to make sure this time around, I believe the MPs are going to be actively involved in the sharing so that we wouldn't have any issues. Yeah. Oh, definitely, yes. We are monitoring. We've told NADMO they should provide us with a data of the affected people. Those that they will share the items with. We want their contact as well, their phone numbers, their names as well. And then also pictures to prove, that they've indeed distributed the items. Yeah.
Well, still on the floods, for many years she poured her life savings into a building, and that building is what she hoped would offer her family that relief after many years. Well, today that investment hangs in a balance, with nearly a quarter of the house buried beneath tons of mud and debris following this week's devastating rains. Well, that is a painful reality of Faustina Osei, a resident of Mile 11 in the Wejagbawa municipality. Her clothing, furniture, electrical appliances, and treasured personal belongings in a one-story, 5-bedroom house has been destroyed with visible cracks within her building structure. There is more in the following report.
Days after the heavy rains, residents at Mile 11 in the Wejagbawa municipality are still counting the cost of the devastation. I'm at a community known as Hand of God, where the destruction remains evident. The entire area has been cut off, with access roads rendered impassable. Even motorbikes are unable to get through. Now, one of the hardest hit residents is the owner of this one-story, 5-bedroom house. From what is visible, nearly a quarter of the building is buried under silt. The house, which sits in a valley, was overwhelmed when torrents of water rushed down from a nearby hill, carrying huge volumes of mud and debris that eventually settled inside the building. Now, the flood water inundated every room, leaving behind thick deposits of silt that have made the house completely uninhabitable. Now, large cracks have appeared in part of the structure, raising fears that the building could collapse if urgent intervention is not taken. Mattresses, clothing, furniture, and other household belongings have all been destroyed, leaving the family with little they could salvage from what was once their home. I have the owner of the property here, Mrs. Osei, here with me. She has been crying since we arrived here on the ground.
Our furnitures, cookers, wardrobes, bed, king size beds and other things. If you can see them lying right here. Yeah. So, you can go into the everything. I'm destroying this house.
What are your immediate needs right now?
Yes, our immediate need is what we will eat.
Okay.
What we eat and what we wear.
Okay.
And where to lay our head, because now we can't even sleep at somebody's place. We be roaming about. When we come and sleep here today, the next day we go and ask and sleep at another person's place. We have scattered. So I'm pleading to the whole world, the whole nation, His Excellency, diplomatic people, church leaders, that they should come into our aid. Now we are homeless. We don't have anywhere to sleep, anywhere, even what to eat and what to wear. Now it's a problem for us now. Even the children are there now. They are not even going to school. As I'm talking now, I don't know even where some are. Because at the night, everybody's scattered. Day time, we come and gather here.
Quite heartbreaking. Well, still on the floods, victims at Alajo are warning of a looming public health crisis as heaps of waste left behind by Monday's devastating floods continue to accumulate across the community. Residents are appealing for urgent government intervention to clear flood-soaked refuse, damaged furniture, household items, and stagnant water clogged sections of the Alajo drain, fearing the unsanitary condition could trigger outbreaks of cholera and other waterborne diseases. My colleague Stephen Mensah visited the community. He filed this report.
24 hours down the line, many of these individuals and affected persons here at Alajo are still counting their losses. And it's not just about losses. Many of them are really scared about some sanitation concerns, you see, emanating from this. What you would see will be some piles of refuse from their homes. And these refuse are the aftermath and remnants of Monday's torrential rains. They are calling on government to urgently take steps in clearing the remnants from Monday's rains to prevent an outbreak of some diseases.
So yesterday even they're supposed to be here, but the length it came once, and after that you cannot cook, you cannot do anything unless you go outside and buy food. Unless you go and buy food, because we have 2 public toilets here. All the place was flooded. So even here the water itself to drink is a problem for us. We are not too sure of the quality. Already we have issues with our water system. So the whole of since Monday, this is the place they were even getting water from to go and clean their houses and everything. And even if you have a food and this water contaminated, you cannot cook it. You have to throw them away.
Say Ebola no, I was say enoko. In radie bakubaye, man to me and babyum. And I said the I no Osha attempt to push. In so no tope obi abetwini dia ko inside. And I said the yes through crying say after winning in a no more to aduane nyina so ben. Say am besisa corolla so bad. Best start say ba another one so a problem.
Yes, it's so bra. Say and rap crank over push him. Because we are edano. Obi be shutu to na say usu obi shutu a obi 15 say first and we are seeing say isonya start here epe say ankokro obi push him say so afan ko me push him nko because empe bola wa so anya ate bon fiti ase nya bola nko a ufa abuya say obi 2000 3000 and a bola contain so ban so obi any one babium.
Many of these individuals are also calling for urgent support from government. They say for the past 3 to 4 days they've been without food, water, shelter and a place to lay their head.
Abonti. Ma fire ma kumpo. Adam fire ni. Adam fire ni. Adam fire ni. See ya jira so ye duane bibia se opebese kwa hana ye wo. Emu bato bibia ye diska. Ye timi ndidi. This ye nua for no meboaboa ye. This ye nua na meboaboa.
Until government takes urgent steps, these individuals say they may be forced to take some pragmatic steps themselves. From Alajo, I am Stephen Mensah for Joy News.
Meanwhile, speaking on behalf of Zoomlion Ghana Limited, the Greater Accra General Manager, Ernest Morgan Aqua, said the company's involvement is focused on cleaning the debris left behind by recent floods, particularly in severely affected communities such as Alajo.
We want to do this quick and fast because if we don't take care, we would have so many outbreaks of diseases because we have other animals also being affected. We could see on our tour, we could see cows and fowl all in the drains and they were dead. So if we don't quickly clear it, it will cause so many havoc and diseases around. That's why, as a corporate social responsibility, Zoomlion Ghana Limited, with its partners, NADMO, FEDEMS, and Dredge Masters, decided to come and help them in this direction. Yes, so cleaning is a daily affair, right? So for us, we are attributing this flooding due to the fact that for a period of a year and over, the daily stripping has been halted. And since that happened, that is why we are seeing that. So we are calling on government to ensure that we restore the YEA cleaning.
Meanwhile, more than 100 school children in the Akitechi Basic School in the Ahanta West Municipality of the Western Region have been left with no classrooms to study after torrential rains brought down a makeshift structure which served as their school classroom. Well, the school children in the farming community are now facing uncertainty because they have nowhere else to go. There's a report by Justice Bedu.
This is the moment school children make frantic effort to escape the rains that are making their way into their classroom. It is an amateur video taken by a teacher of school children in Akitechi, a small village in the Ahanta West municipality of the Western Region. On that day, as torrential rains came, the entire structure came tumbling down.
So these are what verbs. Verbs are action words or doing words. Okay.
Only a week earlier, I had visited this school after distress calls from villagers who feared the worst could happen anytime soon.
Okay, let's clap for him.
This boy is one of the pupils who stood out for me when I was first here.
A lot of my friends are leaving the school. The community has no jobs, and the school is in bad shape. There are no teachers, no classrooms, nothing.
Akitechi is only one of at least 50 schools in the Ahanta West Municipal Assembly that are now facing the impact of deplorable infrastructure.
When it is rain, they all jump to KG1 and KG2 classrooms. Then it comes, many people like this, they are in just 2 classrooms.
Community leaders here started putting money together to build a school structure for their children as years of calls on government to do its job fell on deaf ears. But for a small village of under 1,000 people, this has become tough.
The school is not safe. It's all run down. When it rains, no schoolwork can happen. If the rains come before school hours, we stop them from going to school. And if it rains while they are in school, the teachers also suffer.
It's been weeks since the rains brought the Akitechi school down, and there's still no clear plan for a new one. The children here are living in uncertainty. The clock is ticking, and an entire community and its next generation await a place they can go to get education. Justice Bedu, Joy News, Akitechi.
Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. Let's do some other stories now. Jonah Capital Nigeria Limited has accused Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory Minister of orchestrating a sustained campaign against Ghanaian investors following an armed police operation at one of its facilities in Abuja, Nigeria. The Ghanaian-owned developer alleges Wike reversed an earlier recognition of its development rights over River Park Estate, paving way for attempts to seize lands and assets it developed Well, the claims come after armed policemen were filmed escorting a group of men into the company's gallery clubhouse on June 29, 2026. In an operation Jonah Capital describes as unlawful. The company says the incident reflects a broader pattern of intimidation, targeting its investment, and has called for investigations by the Nigerian police and the President of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Well, police say they are aware of the incident but have been advised not to intervene in land disputes. No official statement has been issued by the Nigerian police force on the operation. Well, let's explore this further. We're taking you now to Nigeria to speak to Kujansa Mensah. He's CEO of Jonah Capital Nigeria Limited and Mobus Property Development. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. What evidence really proves that there is an attempt to sabotage Jonah Capital in Nigeria?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, before I go into it, I would like to commiserate with the people of Ghana, especially the victims of this horrendous flood that has impacted the entire nation, especially those in Accra. My heartfelt condolence and sympathy goes to the victims, especially those who have lost their properties and their families that have lost their loved ones. Firstly, I want to thank you for giving us the platform to express what we are going through. It's really to a matter of security and threats on our lives that is being orchestrated as a result of the actions of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. As you may know, last year we came under several attacks as far as our company is concerned on our claims from certain parties that were claiming ownership of our company. As a result of that, the FCT minister set up a committee to look into the ownership of the estate, which they came out to clearly state that the estate belonged to the Ghanaian investors, which I represent. Now, following that, the FCT minister made a declaration that the title document or the agreement between the FCT and Jonah Capital had expired. This claim, as we know from our side, is not grounded in facts, and we challenged that because the agreement is very clear. Now, following that, we took legal actions to stop the termination of the agreement, and the matters are actually in court. But the FCT minister and his chief security officer, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Mohammed Iya Musa, have led thugs into the estate, confiscated our properties, walled our lands, and all essentially seized all of our operations. We have not resist effort to enter those vacant plots, which we have developed with a substantial investment in millions of dollars that we have. But it came as a surprise to us when over the weekend, firstly, we noticed that the entrance gate to the estate was raised down in the middle of the night for no reason and with no notification. Now, we reported that incident. Then on Monday, the Gallery Clubhouse, which is the main recreational facility that serves the community, we woke up to see thugs and certain elements of the security forces in the area, walling across the parking area. I mean, we found that quite odd. Tried to resist them, and then you will see, I'm sure you probably would have seen some of the videos making the rounds on social media of threats by armed men against us. Incident has started. Now we are essentially in hiding because our lives are under threat. If you come to the estate now, you will see all the Nigerian companies are working. Polo Homes, who the minister had initially said they had no arrangement with, is now working in the full glare of the public. All of the Nigerian stakeholders in the companies in the estate, numbering over 10, are working. The only party that is being resisted from doing any work is the Ghanaian company, Jonah Capital. And not only have we respected that order and taken to the legal route to prevent any violence from happening. Now, established facilities that we have that has been operating, like the Gallery Clubhouse, which serves the community, is not under threat and is being entered. It's as if there's a target on our back, and there's a coordinated effort by the office of the FCT minister to ground our effort. And all we can attribute this thing is an incessant xenophobic attack on our persons and our businesses. Our business has been shut down and our lives are under threat because the thugs that we have circulating are really coming after us as a result of the actions of the FCT minister. And it's rather unfortunate that at this time...
And that brings me to my next question. Why exactly do you believe that Mr. Wike is personally responsible for the challenges you are facing in Nigeria?
If you could repeat your question for me, I'll be grateful because
I'm wondering,
I lost you.
Why you are of the opinion that Mr. Wike is personally responsible for the challenges that Jonah Capital is facing in Nigeria?
Well, I think if I heard you correctly, you're asking why are we facing these challenges in Nigeria?
Why you feel Mr. Wike is the one personally responsible for the challenges you are facing in Nigeria? Because you have called him out.
Well, I say that because his chief security officer, who I mentioned his name, ACP Mohammed Iyamuta, is the lead of the coordinated attacks on our assets and our lives. I have videos of, and it's documented and recorded evidence of him bringing thugs and leading mercenaries to invade our properties. As a matter of fact, the video that you are watching, that is our parking lot, is adjoining one of the properties that they have invaded and walled. And it is those same individuals that have all that property that after went into the house to disrupt the operations of our lives are in danger. We have reached out to the Ghana mission, and I'm very grateful for the steps that have been taken so far and the reach that they have made to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Nigeria to intercede in this matter. But the truth of the matter is that we are more concerned about our lives and the lives of our staff than even the fiscal properties and stuff like that, because we believe that we have a strong case to defend in court and to establish our claim. But the attacks on our lives is becoming, every day it is increasing. Every day is increasing, and it's going to reach the point where one day there's going to be a reportage that somebody has been killed or maimed before we now realize that this issue is getting out of hand. As I'm talking to you now, I can't even access my office.
And who do you believe really is ordering these thugs to attack you, and even ordering the armed police officials you made mention of to visit your facility?
The only person I can point my finger to is the person that initiated the initial onslaught on our property. He may have inadvertently opened the window for this target to be established. But the fact is that the people that are on our property, the people that are attacking us, are the people that are working on the lands that he has expropriated from us. So I can only conclude that those people are working under the command of the FCT minister.
Have you formally petitioned the president of Nigeria, which is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, or the IGP of police, raising the concerns that you are specifically and that you feel that you're specifically being targeted?
As a matter of fact, if you come into the state, there are several diplomats, including staff of the Ghana High Commission that live in the estate. And we have petitioned the Ghana High Commission in Abuja, who have taken steps. In fact, the Ghana High Commission representatives were in the estate and witnessed the raising down of the entrance gate of the estate. And they have also taken steps to meet with the Inspector General of Police and the mission and Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Nigeria, and serious attacks to the various institutions. As to whether the president of Nigeria is going to be petitioned, I hope that the Ghana mission and through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will bring this to the fore, so that to get the attention of His Excellency the President of Nigeria, also His Excellency the President of Ghana, because we don't want a situation where what is happening in South Africa, where we now have to evacuate Ghanaians from South Africa, happens in Nigeria, because it takes one incident for this xenophobic incidents to get out of hand. And we are being aggressively persecuted by the FCT minister in Abu.
You say that Ghanaian-owned businesses are specifically being targeted. Why do you believe that your case is not an isolated case?
Firstly, unlike where in Ghana, where you have a plethora of Nigerian businesses operating, in Abuja here, we are the only prominent Ghanaian business in Nigeria, in Abuja. Unlike Ghana, you have several banks, several businesses owned by Nigerians operating peacefully. Like I said, if you come to the River Park Estate, there are several businesses that are operating, because it's quite a massive development. Several businesses, from service providers to construction companies, all operating peacefully. Nobody is harming them. The only persons that are being targeted is the purpose of the estate. We are the developers of the estate, and if anybody deserves protection and cover, it should be us, especially being foreigners. But like I said, all businesses are operating peacefully, except the one foreign company, which is our company, that is being attacked.
And now that you say that your security is at stake, do you have official protection, at least, from the Ghanaian embassy in Nigeria?
Well, the Ghana High Commission has petitioned the Inspector General of Police to provide security for the Ghanaian nationals, for the citizens in the diplomats in the estate. And I believe that's being taken. We are praying that the federal police, who indeed has been extremely helpful and has gone over and beyond to show his support and empathize with us. We are just praying that whatever efforts that are being made to provide us the necessary security will be expedited, because we are living in hell. We are scared lives. We are scared for our businesses.
Thank you so much for your time here. Quite worrying situation there in Nigeria. Well, you're still watching The Pulse. When we return after this quick turn, we'll take you to the Ashanti region, where the National Security Council is on a manhunt for individuals suspected to be involved in illegal mining operations just behind an Agenda 111 hospital in the area. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Let's do some other stories this afternoon on The Pulse. The Ashanti Regional Security Council is on a manhunt for individuals suspected to be involved in illegal mining operations on a large tract of land behind the Agenda 111 hospital project at Adansia Sokwa in the Ashanti region. Well, 2 excavators and a pickup truck have since been impounded by the Anti-Illegal Mining Task Force in a raid on Wednesday following media reports. Before we go to my colleague Emmanuel Bardkweku for details of this development, here is a report he filed on the operation of illegal miners.
For years, residents in the Adansia Sokwa district of the Ashanti region have witnessed large operations of illegal mining, with the latest activity happening just behind the walls of the Agenda 111 project in the area. Deep open pits are dotted across the large field of land that sits immediately behind the abandoned hospital. When Joy News team visited the site, the miners were actively excavating the land, laying pipes connected to mechanized borehole and pumping water to dig and wash for gold. At least 3 excavators were sighted actively pillaging the earth crust for the mineral ore. The muddy sludge from their operations creep into the presence of the hospital and homes close to the sites. Their illegal operation happened under the full glare of local government authorities, as the site is only located just 500 meters away from the district assembly and the district police headquarters. Assembly member for Bojusango in the area, Ejekum, is distraught over the illegality. Where the illegal mining is happening is disheartening. It is right behind the Agenda 111 project. This hospital was to help us get access to health care. When we approach the miners to demand that they stop the illegality, they tell us they have the mandate to mine.
President, because President say Oba omo ayachi wo mukure be yi wo omo amoma ba ye omo guarantee say and galamse ni de ya obia nu obetimi aka ho asem to yet mamuni that's okohu a na ja waka wanu atum.
The residents had hoped that the facility would soon open, but are now worried over the environmental implications of the mining activities on the facility.
Yawa adanse asukwa ni hospital kesiye bia etinyame adawro maban aban obetwa mu no.
We don't have any major health facility in Adansia Sokwa. Through the government, we have this Agenda 111 hospital, but Galamsey has taken over the lands.
Agenda 111 emaso the abaye Galamsey esanse ebenia police for office assemblies for assembly suni.
The Galamsey is happening close to the police office and assembly, but nothing seems to be happening to stop them. The traditional leaders should step in.
The district assembly is yet to comment over the development in the area, as residents insist on safeguarding the hospital facility. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Pritekweku.
Well, Emmanuel Barkweko joins me live on Zoom for the latest on this. Emmanuel, we're learning that so far the national security will be moving into the area. What do we know?
All right, so firstly, currently reclamation efforts are underway at the sites as we speak now. In fact, I have cited that the drip machines that they have at the assembly, they have started covering the dugouts or the open pits behind this Agenda 111 hospital project at Adanse Asokwa as we speak now. So that's the reclamation, as the regional minister, Dr. Frank Amakohene, assured in his Facebook post. And so that's what is currently happening there at the illegal mining sites. In fact, he has actually, or the regional minister has actually put out a name. Yesterday, he noted on his Facebook post that when they went to the site, upon the tip of the illegal miners fled the site, but they were able to impound some 2 excavators and a pickup vehicle. And as we speak now, they have been able to identify the owner of the pickup vehicle. And so he has put out a name on social media, hoping that the public would help in identifying or knowing the whereabouts of this individual. And so from his Facebook post, he said the individual's name was Samuel Twampong. And so he has put out a Facebook post hoping that the public would help in identifying the hideouts of this individual. They are also finding out there is a manhunt on the owners of the land, so that in case of anything, they will be prosecuted. And so that's currently the situation there at the Adanse Asokwa district of the Ashanti region. So that's the information so far we pick up from the site.
And Emmanuel, any arrests so far?
As we speak now, because they've actually been able to only identify the driver. There is no arrest. We do not have any information on arrest of any persons involved in this particular illegality.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel Bradquick. We're keeping our eyes on this and we'll bring you updates as soon as we have it. Still on illegal mining, illegal miners have taken over one of the mountains surrounding Lake Bosomtwi in the Ashanti region, threatening the ecosystem, sustaining one of the Ashanti region's major tourist attractions. Well, Joy News can confirm deep excavation and mining of a hill at Biposo, one of the towns situated around Lake Bosomtwi, a few meters from the valley hosting water source. Erastus Saredonko has more in the following report.
Aside bad, dusty roads reducing patronage of Lake Bosomtwi, one of Ashanti region's most prized tourism destinations is facing the danger of illegal mining invasions. Down in the belly of this crater is Lake Bosomtwi, surrounded by mountains and greenery, the pride of Ashanti, and one of the major tourism destinations in the Ashanti region. But right here on this hill, illegal miners have besieged and tried to destroy the only substance that separates the two, this mountain and Lake Bosomtwi. And as you can see, illegal miners have eaten up this forest, gradually digging deep towards the valley of this great resource. Here at Biposo, illegal miners, mostly indigents of the town and others, have been digging and washing for gold, threatening danger close to the buffer of the lake. As you can see, the illegal miners are digging gradually deep, eating into the only layer that separates this mountain from the valley of the lake. As far as gold goes, the illegal miners will continue to dig and dig until finally there is nothing left. And that will start leaking mining residue down this mountain into the valley of the lake itself. The miners have laid pipes connected to a mechanized borehole, pumping water up one of the mountains surrounding the lake, using it to dig and wash for gold. They've already cleared a substantial part of the mountain, but they push on with the trajectory of the line trace of gold, leading them even close to the valley which hosts this great lake. The Ashanti Regional Minister, in a Facebook post, said the owner of the site, one Richard Entry, claims to have lawfully acquired the land, adding that investigations are underway to ascertain whether he has requisite mining licenses. But the illegality is not limited to this mountain at Biposo. In the valley of the adjoining town of Konkoma, just below Lake Bosomtwi, illegal miners have taken over, mining with impunity. Today, based on social media reports on the illegality around Lake Bosomtwi, national security operatives have seized equipment belonging to the miners. But our drone caught another excavator sitting in the mining mess at Konkoma. This is Kontanase. Now to my right, this road leads to Lake Bosomtwi, which is a major tourism attraction for Ashanti region. Now a few meters on this road is a town called Yase, which is also very close to the lake, and that is where illegal miners have pitched camp, doing unsustainable mining within that enclave. Some meters from the lake road in the town of Yase, armed groups have mounted a barrier protecting an illegal miner who is destroying lands within the precincts of the Bosomtwi district. We were prevented from going to the grounds, but our drone footages show illegal mining sites springing up across the terrain at Yase in the Bosomtwi district. Perhaps a stitch in time saves 9. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Bosomtwi, Ashanti region.
Warren. Well, away from that, Germany's domestic intelligence agency has warned in a report that there is a growing threat from right-wing and left-wing extremists amid rising foreign interference. Well, joining us with more on that is DW correspondent Jiponda from Berlin. We appreciate your time here on the Pulse, Jiponda. What exactly are the main takeaways?
Well, the number of politically motivated crimes in Germany continued to rise last year, and that's according to the 2025 report from the German Federal Domestic Intelligence Agency. And one figure that stood out from the report, which was released on Tuesday, is the one on violent crimes. Last year, they increased by about 10% to just under 3,300. Now, Germany's Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt and the head of the Federal Domestic Intelligence Agency say that right-wing extremism is the biggest threat to democracy and social cohesion. The extremist scene is becoming more interconnected and has a bigger readiness to act. And that's also a trend with left-wing extremism. And anti-Semitism continues to be a growing problem and cuts across different types of extremism, including, of course, Islamism, which remains a threat in Germany. Now, the report also showed that there was a rise in foreign activities in the country last year.
In knowing which countries are really targeting Germany and how?
It's Russia, China, and Iran, and their activities are focused on industrial espionage and intimidating nationals from their countries who now live here in Germany. Now, Russia presents the biggest foreign threat when it comes to some of these activities. During the press conference, the Interior Minister cited a case involving 3 men who have been convicted of espionage. Allegedly, Russia's intelligence services asked them to spy on the German rail system and also Germany's infrastructure and plan potential attacks. Now, according to the German intelligence report, Russia has been recruiting more so-called disposable agents. Now, these are individuals who are recruited and directed to carry out short-term missions via social media and messaging apps, for instance.
Will Germany counter these threats?
The Interior Minister is planning to propose new legislation to counter security threats on multiple fronts. Now, the new laws would allow authorities more surveillance of digital communications, and they would also get to store that information for a longer time. Now, this legislation would also lead to more collaboration and data sharing between the Federal Intelligence Agency and security authorities in Germany's 16 federal states. Now, all of this, of course, comes at a time when the German government is trying to reduce spending. So the hope is that there won't be any spending cuts when it comes to intelligence and security. And that is because more resources could be needed to counter the increasingly complex security threats, both here in Germany and also from abroad.
Thank you so much, Jiponda. And that's how we wrap up the Pulse. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. Some top stories there. We brought you that here first. We spoke to Professor Vladimir Chidansov. He's speaking about boycotting South African goods is not the solution to xenophobic attacks. You can read on that and more on myjoyonline.com.